Hey everybody, welcome to this amazing webinar that we're going to have today with Chris Kaiser. And Chris is coming to us from Frankfurt, Germany. And I am in northern Colorado, and it is fairly early morning here. I don't think it will focus. Maybe the light, I don't think it's going to show you out my window just because it's too bright there. But beautiful morning here in northern Colorado. We've had some fairly extreme smoke from fires all over the western United States. So bad that day before yesterday you couldn't see the sun all day just because the smoke was intense.
Oh.
And as I said, Chris is with us from Frankfurt. Mark is behind the glass in Bangladesh. I kept thinking of Arib. Arib is not here yet. Arib starts his workday at 11 Mountain Time, which is 3 hours still. And so it'll be the three of us here today. And we're excited to have you here. Many of you will be watching this as a replay, and some of you will be watching it live. If you're here live, please put some questions in the Q&A box that you'll see. And we're going to do this as an interview style today with Chris. And you can see we've got his web page, Click-a-Tree, up on the screen right now. Chris and I are on our webcams. And why don't we just start with that? Chris, why don't you say hi to everybody and tell them just 5 minutes about yourself.
That sounds great. Hello, everybody. In that case, greetings from central Germany. We luckily do see the sun when it's out. But, well, today is rather a cloudy day, so not much sun for us. Nonetheless, I'm super excited to be here. I'm excited to talk with you, Wayne. I've heard a lot of good things about what you do and people you talk with. And, well, you've seen it on the screen already. The website I manage is called Click-a-Tree. It's all about tree planting. I've lived and worked for 5 years in Thailand and had the big pleasure to work with elephants, actually. And their biggest issue, unfortunately, is the loss of habitat. And that's where the motivation came from, to plant trees. It's not exactly the reinvention of the wheel, but so far it was always rather complicated. So I decided there need to be ways to make it super simple. As simple as, in this case, you just go to a web page, you click your mouse a few times, and there you have then you have planted a tree. As you see on the screen at the moment, there's 1, 2, 3 steps, and the third step is already basically done. So yeah, that's how simple it can be to do a good deed, and the elephants would definitely love you for it. And 2 years ago, I came back to Germany. I wanted to be a bit closer with my family again, but the beauty is, thanks to the internet, you can stay connected with everyone around the globe. Wayne just introduced that we are sitting on 3 continents at the moment, all coming together right in front of your screen, and hopefully sharing some cool insights and some valuable knowledge with you. And as you said, if there are any questions about anything, then feel free to jot them in the question section.
And Chris, what do you do day to day to earn a living? I would guess that it's not just from the planting trees.
It is hopefully getting there one day, but yeah, not yet. Until end of last year, I was a marketing and sales consultant. So I lived or worked for over 12 years in the tourism sector, and lived on all 5 continents. Worked in South America and Australia and Africa and Asia, and of course in Europe, and saved up a bit of money to now start this exciting new venture. So this year is
seems like he's
frozen up there.
Right. So hang with us for a little bit. Let's see what's happening. Let's see if he comes back. And we can look around his website a little bit.
Just keep it right here, Mark, for now.
Oh, okay.
Just keep it there. Well, he'll come back here. His internet probably a little bit.
Oh yeah, he's back.
There.
Hey Chris.
I can concentrate on it full time.
Chris, we
Yes.
uh,
We we lost you, Chris. Chris, your screen froze, and we lost you for a minute or so there. So I had asked you about what you were doing now for a living, making money aside from Click-a-Tree, and you said you were a little bit of in a transition. You've been in the marketing area, hospitality wise, and we kind of lost from there. So if you might repeat what you said.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Uh, well, yeah, as Wayne just summarized, I've been in hospitality for over 12 years. I lived on 5 different continents, working in all sorts of jobs, in hotels, in bars, for tour operators, um, whatever basically paid the bills, and saved up some money so I could start Click-a-Tree. This year, it's the first year that I dedicate full time to Click-a-Tree, and I'm living off my savings at the moment. And then from next year onwards, I'm planning to pay myself a salary from Click-a-Tree as well, so I can continue to focus on it full time.
Good. And how about family? Tell us a little bit. You have, you know, maybe take us even back to your youth, your parent situation. Are they still around? And what part of the world did you grow up in? Germany? Grow up somewhere else?
Yeah, more than happy to. I guess that was the foundation why I've always been a traveler. Because my dad is a tropical doctor, and that's why I grew up in Cameroon and in Tanzania for the first 6 years of my life. Was a super interesting experience because I was the only white kid, usually together with my brother, and back then we were also super blonde haired. So all the other kids found it super interesting and incredibly funny to pull our hair and push us around a little bit sometimes, you know. So it wasn't always fun, but it was an interesting learning curve. And then when I turned 5, my brother turned 6, we returned back to Germany, mainly because the school system is most of the time a bit more stable here. And I spent 12 years here. And when I was 18, I was like, hey, now I'm an adult. I can go wherever I want. And I wanted to go as far away as possible, just to, see some other part of the planet, and moved out to Australia. And I have this work and holiday visa there, so I could spend a year. And after that year, if you have worked on a farm for 3 months, you can apply for a second year. So that's what I did. And I was gone for almost 2 years, working in all kinds of different jobs, trying myself out, also there, of course, in the hospitality. But there also, I worked as a kangaroo caretaker, for example, in between, which was a super interesting experience. And great to see that in Australia you could just do it. You would walk up to the farm basically and say, hey, here I am. And they're like, okay, great, you're here. This is what you got to do. And then they teach you on the job. Whereas in Germany, it'd be like, where's your certificate? Where's your work experience? Where's your master's degree? Where's your, I don't know what. And there's like, okay, well, you're a human. I'm sure you can do it. This is how it works. Go do it. And then if you do well, you stay on. And if you screw up, then maybe you move on. So fantastic experience. And yes, my parents are still around. They live in the south of Germany on the Swiss border at Lake Constance. Super beautiful area where I had the pleasure to grow up at. That's why I'm a little bit spoiled nature-wise. I'm used to having a huge lake 10 minutes in front of my doorstep where you can go swimming every summer. You can play beach volleyball until the sun sinks and have beautiful natural surroundings, basically the place where everybody else comes vacation. The Alps are about an hour south of us in case you want to go skiing or snowboarding in winter time. So it's everything there you can wish for. And I'm very glad they're still around. My dad is 78 now, so and he and my mom are still healthy and going strong. So I'm glad to have the parental support whenever I need it.
And no living partner for yourself at this point?
I do. I live with my girlfriend in Frankfurt. We moved in 7 months ago, and now had this interesting testing time of Corona together. But most people say if you actually manage to survive that, then yes, there's very few things that can bring you apart. Let's see whether they're right or not. But yeah, that's the current situation. I mean, we're both in the early 30s now. We don't have any kids yet, so currently the business is my baby sort of thing. And then let's see where life takes us in the next few years.
And then, good segue there. Tell us what life has been like for you and your girlfriend probably as Corona has been moving where it has in your lives. So what kinds of things has it changed, and then now how is it compared to where it was, let's say in early May or April? Just because we've asked a number of speakers that, and it's different all over the world.
I bet, yeah. And I think it's a good question because so many things have become normal within this super short amount of time. I mean, all of us are used to carrying a mask now when you go out. In Germany, you have to wear masks when you go into restaurants or supermarkets or public transport, whatever it is. You always need to carry your face mask, otherwise you're not allowed in. And imagine like a year ago, you would have told someone, hey, in 6 months, it's going to be normal that you take a mask when you go get money from the bank. That probably would have been a strange idea back then, but now it's completely normal for everyone. And it has been a very interesting learning curve. I mean, we had the lockdown start in the middle of March, and that's when things went super quiet. You weren't supposed to meet any friends. I think you were allowed to meet one other person back at that time, outside of your own household. And most people just stayed at home most of the time watching TV, or I started playing the guitar, for example. We played a lot of board games together, did some puzzle games or something, learned how to cook, which was quite interesting. So we tried to give ourselves a few small challenges. Luckily, both of us could work from home. My business is location independent anyway, and her employer also realized that people just need a laptop and an internet connection and maybe a telephone at times these days to be productive. And that's why we had sort of normal work days, and then like
Real quick, let me interrupt a minute. Mark, you should look at the screen and click something on that to get rid of that message. You've got a message on your screen, Mark, that you want to get rid of.
I'm not.
Mark sometimes mutes himself while we're going, so
Yeah,
it says or maybe it's on mine.
Right.
You know what? It could be on mine, and if it is, then people aren't seeing it. It says my computer's overloaded, which that happens. You guys know that with mine, so probably mine. I will turn this off. It is on mine. Wow, it's weird. It looked like it came up on yours.
Right. Because I couldn't
All right,
see
well,
anything. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Right.
Sorry to interrupt you, Chris, but I thought sure that was on Mark because it looked like it was. So,
no worries.
other than the mask sort of thing today, is life fairly normal in terms of businesses that are open, meeting, like what could there be a concert, for example? Are there events of any kind? Are movie theaters open? That kind of thing.
It depends a little bit on which federal state you go to, but currently we just finished our summer vacation, and a lot of travelers came back from wherever they had been, and that is why the numbers of infections went up a little bit again. So currently we're allowed to meet with 5 persons in public. Also, when you go to a restaurant, for example, and the maximum is 50 at the moment when you hold a private celebration like a birthday party or wedding or something like that. So there are no concerts or big events or something. I mean, the Bundesliga, the soccer league has started again, and they're thinking about having people sit at like 1.50 meters apart from each other. So you have maybe 2 seats free. You could go to the cinema if you wanted, and you'd be 1 out of 10 persons in the room or something. So it doesn't really pay for most cinemas to actually reopen. Some are open nonetheless. Gastronomy works okay as long as people can sit outside. And we'll see how things develop now that the autumn is coming, and probably people have to move more to the inside. So it's still a little bit restricted. But you can also, for example, do sports again. Like I love playing beach volleyball, for example, and for that you need 4 persons in total, and that is possible again. And that is something I really, really missed during Corona, doing sports in a team. I mean, you could go jogging or something, but that's not so much up my alley. So it's sometimes just to lose energy. But aside from that, I prefer, soccer, volleyball, hockey, whatever it is. And that's usually played in teams. So I'm super happy that at least in small teams, you can play a game.
Mark, I'm going to ask you, queue up and maybe just do it while we talk about this just quickly, next topic. The Yonder site, please, because I want to chat a little bit with Chris about that later.
Sure.
We don't need to do it immediately. But,
okay.
So let's transition now to Click a Tree. And let's start with your love of elephants. That's very interesting. And tell us how that initiated and how you have been able to manifest it. How have you been able to satisfy that as your life has progressed?
It was a little bit of a coincidence, I must admit. After my university studies, I had been in South America for a year, and I came back to Germany. And back at the time, I didn't feel like I was fitting in so well, because in South America, you got all this happiness going around and people talking to each other and dancing and music and all these things. It's stereotypical, but it's true. And in Germany, people are a little bit more reserved, a bit more conservative, and not as outgoing, maybe. So I had the urge to go to somewhere warm again, and found this cool job position in a luxury tented camp in the south of Thailand. And I applied. They were looking for a German-speaking person to translate some things to their German guests. Bit of a guest entertainment position, sort of a thing. And got the job because I speak German. It was the only qualification I actually had for being qualified for the job. And as it turns out, they had an elephant park enclosed. Luckily, a super ethical one where people don't ride on the elephant. The elephants don't do tricks or anything like that. They're just there. And then people can go visit, of course. You can like hold up some bananas and the elephant might come and eat it, or might not if it doesn't feel like coming. And you can take some pictures, but actually you mostly learn about how elephants are in their natural environment and how they interact with each other as a group. There were about 12 elephants usually. And there you could also see this matriarchal behavior, that usually the oldest elephant is sort of the leader. But also in that situation, you had the teenagers, who just didn't want to listen to mama or grandmom or something, did their own thing, running around and trumpeting, and then grandma trying to talk some sense to the young ones, and the young ones completely ignoring her, being like, yeah, come on, granny, shut up. We do our own thing. And it is so cool to experience these animals firsthand, especially when they're given freedom to do as they please, sort of thing. And I don't think anybody could not fall in love with them when experiencing them in such an environment. So it was super easy for me to fall in love. And then the people there, again, same as with the kangaroo job a little bit, they taught me, how to interact with elephants when you get a little bit closer. I didn't become a dedicated elephant caretaker or anything. They had professionals there who do that. And also local people, of course, to create local jobs. But nonetheless, when I would lead a small group of guests, 10, 12 persons to see elephants, then I could also give out all the information and have the feeding session with them and the photo session and things like that. And you just be around elephants most of the time, it was so beautiful. And they are fantastic creatures. They are gentle and they're loyal at the same time. They came to get to know me, sort of thing, and they knew whenever this guy was coming, then he would bring like 10 other people, and the 10 other people would bring like fresh bananas or pineapples or whatever. So they projected all that on me and thought, oh, this guy's a good guy, whenever he comes, there's a treat in store. And that's why they came to like me too, I guess. And you could really feel that. I mean, even there, you have your favorites, which you get along with super well, and others that might not be so much your type, and then especially your favorites, they would just come up to you. I had been in Germany, for example, for 2 months on business trips and seeing my family. And first time I walked back to this elephant area, the favorite comes up to me, and first she starts running, and then she realizes that I'm like this tiny little creature. So she slows down and very slowly moves forward, and just stands there and holds a huge trunk against my hands and just, enjoys the moment as well, it seems. And that is absolutely magical, I can tell you. So I've never experienced anything like that with other creatures, even though some people say, like dogs might be of a similar nature, and when you haven't been home for 2 weeks and you come back from vacation, they come running to the door and they wag their tail and they want to, slurp all over your face. And I think it's a little bit like that, just that this dog is about 3 tons huge and quite a giant that is there. So you're quite happy when this elephant is a careful one. Yeah.
Yeah. And you probably know this way better than I do in our audience. There are places in the world where various elephant herds are in very bad trouble, right, in terms of potentially going extinct, or maybe even have gone extinct in some areas. Is that true?
Yes. Unfortunately, it is. I mean, basically, most people say we have 2 species of elephant left. Some say we have 3 species left. You have the Asian elephant mostly, and the African elephant. And everybody knows about the troubles of the African elephant, right? With the poaching and all the stuff going on. And we only have about 400,000 African elephants left on this planet, which is close to nothing. But then again, we have about 40,000 Asian elephants left, which is 10% of the African elephant population. And that's just, it's less than people live in a medium-sized city and they're all strewn out all across Asia. It's not that they all meet and they all live in the same community or something so they can interact and breed. They are all across Asia, and it's a super difficult situation because they're poached for their ivory. Sometimes in rural areas they are scared away because they tend to eat crops from humans, and then the local farmer, of course, they want to protect their crops, and the farmers want to feed their families. You can't really blame them. It's just that there's a lack of habitat for the elephants in general, because the elephant, if they would have the choice between living in a huge lush green forest and going to a human settlement to eat human crops, I believe most elephants would choose the lush green jungle, because the jungle is destroyed more and more. I mean, there's agriculture, there's infrastructure projects, now there's climate change, and we just lose so much animal habitat that these giants, they don't have anywhere to go. And then they end up near human settlements, and you have the human-elephant conflict, and humans have gunpowder, so elephants don't stand that much of a chance in that fight. So it's quite a troublesome situation. And for me personally, a super sad one, because I always picture myself being a granddad, and telling my kids, oh yeah, and back in the days, I worked with elephants in Thailand. And they would look up at me and say, what's an elephant? Or maybe they might have seen one in the comic books, or in an ancient TV show sort of thing. But if they wouldn't have the chance to actually see an alive elephant out in the wild, I would feel super sad. And to a certain extent, I think I would feel like I had failed as well. That's why I created this Clicker Tree project, to create habitat for elephants. I mean, it creates habitat for millions of animals. Basically, every animal is dependent on trees. Every land animal, say, except for maybe a polar bear, and even the polar bear breathes the oxygen that a tree creates. So, for me personally, it's the elephants, but I think every human has his or her favorite animal, and most of them would profit from having more forest and more natural landscapes on our planet.
So again, nice segue. I'd love to talk more about elephants, but let's move to Click a Tree specifically, and maybe we can come back and talk a little more about elephants. But So you formed Click a Tree. Let's say I'm now really excited about what you're doing, and tell me how I end up helping get a tree planted. What do I do? And again, you talk about a 1, 2, 3 process, but tell us a little bit more of the details there of what you're doing on your end to get a tree planted. Because my guess is you're not able to just fly a big plane into a place in Thailand, for example, and start planting trees. You've got other people that are helping you do that.
Yes, of course. And there are a lot of people who are more talented in planting trees than I am. And also, I mean, a tree planting is not that you push a seed in the ground and you run away or something and come back to Germany. It is a super long-term game. So the concept we developed is that we want to be holistically sustainable. Understand maybe not everybody cares about elephants, but that is why we also made it socially sustainable. And all the people that work for us on site, they get a fair salary for what they do. And they don't just get a salary for actually planting the tree, but they also get a salary for nursing the tree in the long term and taking care of that tree and ensuring that it isn't cut down, for example. Because what we do is we create diverse ecosystems. As I said, we want to create habitat for animals, so we can't create monocultures. You know, if you say, I planted 1 million oil palms or something, then you created 1 million trees too, but it's oil palms, it's a monoculture, it's not sustainable, and it can't be used as habitat or something for animals. However, it would of course provide an income to the local people, so that would see more sense in that. So the way we do it is we say, look, because we create a forest and you don't really earn much money by having a forest in your backyard sort of thing, we pay you a long-term salary, so the forest stays there and it grows there and it naturally rejuvenates after a while and then turns into a proper jungle. And for that, we always work with the people on site, of course, because we want to create local jobs for the local people on site. A, because it's the right thing to do, and B, because it gives us the support of the local community that they actually see a benefit in this entire undertaking. C, because they have the knowledge of what sort of trees work best, for example. You know, as a German, I can't go everywhere and plant a German tree. It doesn't make sense. We only plant native trees, and we need to talk with the local people to also discuss what sort of tree species are native and in which constellation should we plant them. Because in most projects we work with over 20 different tree species. In Thailand, it's even 40 different tree species that we use. And then you need to come up with a plan. How many of the cheap trees do I need and how many of the more expensive trees do I need? I mean, of course, you could plant $1 million $1 trees. It's a lot cheaper, but you also have the $50 trees and you need those as well. Maybe not as many, but nonetheless, you need them to have a diverse ecosystem. So we create the plan with them together, and then we make sure that there's a piece of land that can actually be used in the long term. It's not my land. I don't want to be the white person who comes in and buys land and then tells people what to do with it. It's usually community land or privately owned by the people we work with, so that they actually see a benefit on their land. Then we start growing, generally with a tree nursery where you pre-grow a tree for usually 3 to 6 months, depending on the tree species. And then once it's grown a little bit, you can plant it out into the field. And also out in the field, the first 3 years, they say, is crucial that you continue to nurse it, you water it, you make sure that the roots actually grow into the soil. And then after a while, the forest needs like basic caretaking, but the idea is to actually create a self-sustaining forest where humans don't have to interact that much with it. And then animals can return and find a happy home.
So when did you start Click a Tree? So when would the first tree from Click a Tree have been planted?
It's difficult to say. In 2016, I had this first idea of planting trees, and back then I planted a few trees with a team in Ecuador. And then in 2017, we thought, look, I live right in Thailand, and there's tons of trees being needed here. Why don't we plant the first trees here? So we planted trees there. Back then it wasn't Click a Tree really. I formed the company in 2018, Back then it was just, let's plant trees to do good, and then after a while you realize, of course, you need to generate money from somewhere, to pay all the salaries and to pay the equipment and all these things. And that's when I started with Click a Tree. Back then, mostly in cooperation with tourism partners like travel agents, tour operators, airlines, because that's where my network was, and also because a lot of tourism companies are looking to become greener, because a lot of travelers ask for that. They want to travel more sustainably. So that's when things came about. And we still have the corporations going with like Booking.com or Expedia or Skyscanner or something. If you would, on the website, on the right-hand top, move to the free trees section, and then there's a drop down, and there's Bee and Tree, the trees for travelers. And if you click on that, that's basically how everything came about. It is, I'll maybe go to the Bee and Tree section. Yeah, cool. As you can see, one booking plants one tree. There's a few partners listed right there. There's a few more partners listed further down. And it is as simple as, for example, clicking on the Skyscanner logo and then placing your booking request with Skyscanner. And then Skyscanner, because of this special link we have with them, they understand, this customer came from Click a Tree, so they pay us a marketing remuneration, and we invest that marketing remuneration into planting trees. It doesn't cost the travelers anything extra, because if we wouldn't exist, Skyscanner would invest this money into Google AdWords or TV ads or something like that. And in this case, they simply invested into planting trees to become slightly more sustainable themselves. That is as simple as it gets, I think. It's one single click of your mouse and you plant one tree. So that's what we want to achieve, make sustainability simple. And I think Bee and Tree is a good step towards that.
And do you have knowledge of your metrics for how many trees have been planted using this click a tree for free approach? Do you have an idea of what those numbers are?
Yes, in total we planted about 110,000 trees so far. The majority of that is from the free tree options that we have. It's either Bee and Tree, or we have different partners. We have partners inside the fashion industry, in the beauty industry, mobility industry. Now, like you can buy an e-scooter, for example, and they plant a tree for you. Since last week, there's a partner that actually have these face masks that you need, and every face mask they sell, they plant a tree. And that's our idea of bringing it into everyday life. But then, of course, there's also always the option to plant a tree on the website, if you like. If you say, look, I don't want to purchase anything at the moment, but I want to do good, or I want to gift this tree to someone I love, or some people plant a tree in memory of a loved family member. I have a Canadian friend. He planted 2 trees for the 2 dogs he lost, unfortunately, earlier this year. And then people get updates about their trees, how they grow, how they prosper, what the people who plant the trees do with their salary, and how they, for example, send their children to school now with the shiny new school uniform. And all that time you get remembered of this person that you love so much, or maybe still do love, if it's for your mom or for your partner or for your child, or whoever you dedicate the tree to. Every time you get one of this news, you get remembered of this person you love, and you see what a fantastic impact you're having for people across the globe, and of course for the planet itself. So it is a cool gift. Some people just plant it for fun, to try it out, and see how it works. Lots of different options, but no matter from which point you look at it, I guess the planet needs more trees. So go plant them.
Well, and so let me just use it, because I've just got some thoughts here, and it's one of the reasons I asked Mark to pull up a site. Mark, click on the Yonder site there now, just to show Chris. This is a booking site for people who want to go to some place in the world where they can explore nature. So it's, as you see here, escape to nature. I'm on their board, and I have a lot of different roles that I play, and one of them is to get more people to use their locations. The second is to find more stewards, which you see here. They call their hosts stewards. And the third is they're actually in a fundraising mode, so it's to help them with that. I would think that they'd love your concept, and they'd love to be, Mark, now go back to Chris's site, and they would love to be on your webpage there alongside Skyscanner and Hostel World and Expedia and so on. So that's just a thought for you. Let's talk about that later. But now back to these companies here. Best Western, which by the way is a very large U.S. presence. I stay in Best Western locations almost many times when I travel, and I'm starting to travel again a lot more. And I traveled a lot before the pandemic and have for my whole life. But I would assume if I just book a Best Western in a normal way, a tree doesn't get planted, correct? I mean, they have to go through somehow a link that you have, or is that not right? Is every room that's booked through Best Western have a tree book?
Unfortunately, not yet. So, especially with Best Western, this is sort of a trial project. I'm in very close contact here with the sustainability managers in Frankfurt as well. And they said, look, we of course need to test run this first and see if our clients like the idea. So if you want to book a Best Western, in this case also you need to go to Bad and Tree first, B and Tree, and click on the Best Western logo. And then you're guided to their website and you can make your booking as you're used to it with your client account and collect the points you need and everything. And that way, Best Western, again, through the special link, registers, the client came from Click a Tree, so he wants to plant the tree. And the more people do that, the higher this idea rises in the minds of the sustainable management in Best Western. And yeah, the more trees we manage to plant together, the higher the likeliness that they say, okay, all of our clients want to plant trees anyway, so we just embed it into our standard booking process. And from now on, every hotel that booking plants a tree, for example. We have a few other hotel partners that already say for every direct booking, you get a tree, because if people come via booking.com, for example, the hotel needs to pay booking.com commission of 16 to 18%. And then the hotels say, look, we rather take that money for us and invest in part of it into planting a tree. So that already works. And that is also something that we're exploring with Best Western, that we want to get to the stage where they say, okay, so many clients requested this feature that from now on we just plant one tree for every direct booking we get, for example. And then next time you just need to call Best Western, for example, if you have a special number as a VIP guest.
Right. You don't have to worry about it. You're going to get a tree planted no matter. Yeah, you're going to get a tree planted no matter where you book from Best.
That's the idea, yeah.
And I think that if we can have a dialogue with Yonder, that maybe right off the bat that could happen with Yonder, because again, the people that, I think they would see using a click-a-tree approach with them is a marketing benefit for them. Unlike Best Western, where most people that are staying in a Best Western are just staying there because it's convenient, it's clean, and it's probably less expensive or similarly cost as another location that they have an option for. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out for you.
That's a fantastic idea.
When you're planting, yeah, we'll pursue that further here in the near future. Are you planting most of the trees geographically in the same area? And if, well, let's just stop there. Are you planting most of the trees geographically in the same area? Or are you planting in multiple different places?
We plant all across the globe. To date, we have planted in 13 different countries. So it basically depends, A, where there's the need for trees, but that is basically in every country on earth. And then B, where we can find...
everywhere.
Exactly, yeah. B is where we can find a reliable team, because unfortunately, especially in the tree planting space, it's quite convenient, when you live in, I don't know, Zimbabwe or something, you send an email to the German guy and say, we planted your trees, and you send a few pictures of some random forest or something, wherever it might be. And that is not exactly what we expect. I mean, especially us Germans, we are super tight about reporting, about detailed information, about proof of work sort of stuff. And that also applies to all the partners we work with, of course. If I would send an email to Best Western and say, oh, look, here's a picture of a forest. I planted all your 10,000 trees. They would be like, okay, Chris, thank you and goodbye, So the key for us is really to find reliable teams and then to evaluate them, to do some test plantings with them. Also to check their mindset, are they more focused on a short-term profit, or do they actually understand that tree planting is a long-term game and that they and their kids and their grandkids will profit from this if it's done right? And then thirdly, because as you just rightly mentioned, for Yonder, for example, it often is a marketing gig for the partners that we work with. We also need to create great marketing material. So we create images and posters for our partners. Mark, if you would click on the B2B section in the top, you can see that for some of the partners, then we create these big banners or something and hold them up when planting the trees. So they have personalized marketing material that they can use in their communication. If you scroll down a little bit, you see here's the first one with I Love Sushi, which is a sushi restaurant in Germany that we work with. If you would go a little bit further down, there's another one with big banner from the Concept Hotels. That's me hugging elephants in Thailand. Okay, scroll a bit further down. Down. And even further down. There comes a picture, exactly. And that is what makes it so valuable. We're not just about being the green force and making you more sustainable, but we also help you actually drive more revenue to your business due to the fact that you plant trees with us. And that is what we use as the key in our system, that we want to combine this characteristic approach of planting trees with the capitalistic system that we all live in. Because if I want to plant a ton of trees and I do it out of my own pocket, or I ask partners to make donations or something, that works for half a year, and then I'm bankrupt and my partners decide, it bleeds into our profits, it doesn't make sense for us. Whereas if we can embed it into this capitalistic system that we live in and make sure that our partners, they earn more revenue and ideally they even increase their profits with what they're doing, then they can do it in a long term. And that is key to actually make this tree planting thing long-term sustainable. And that's what's needed to create a forest. It's not done in a year, and it's not done in 3 years. It will take decades. And that's also why we're working super hard to form partnerships where our partners are sensationally enthusiastic about what we're doing. Mark, if you would scroll back up this page to the very top, we made a short case study about this sushi restaurant, for example, that we work with. And they increased their sales. There you go, the 2-minute case study. They increased their sales by 22% in the first quarter of this year, despite all the problems that Corona brought about. And that was basically because they started planting trees, and they planted trees for one specific dish. So we could perfectly track if the sales of this one dish go up or down or stay stable. And the sales of this one specific tree planting dish went up by 22%. So that is how perfectly we can track that actually sustainability is key and clients demand it, and all the companies who help not just do it, but who can also communicate their efforts in the right way, they will profit big time. Because also, since I'm in the business, I've known a few companies that say, but we already do something. And I'm like, I can't see it on social media. I can't find it on your website. Where is it? And they're like, we do good, so we shouldn't really talk about it. I'm like, no, it's the opposite way. You do great. You need to talk about it, because then you make more money with it. And then everybody else wants to do good as well. Because if you increase your profits by planting trees, and suddenly everybody want to plant trees. And that's the idea behind it. And so far, it works like a charm. We're really happy to say, even now during the Corona crisis, we haven't lost one single partner. All of them are still on board, and all of them are planting trees. So we're super proud that the system we developed actually works.
Let me give you a case study, and I'm not remembering exactly which of the water organizations does this, but I'll find it out and tell the audience in another time. But they take, a typical well for this group to put in is about a $2,500 cost. And so they rarely get investors for single wells. Instead, they'll have, 20 investors for that one well. One of the things they do that is very exciting for those 20 people that invest in that well is there's a webcam, satellite operated or, solar and such, that actually is on that well. And in this case, this group's been around 10 years or so, and that webcam is still, you can watch it live and see if villagers are coming to get water from that well, rather than from some dirty looking marshy area where they got their water previously. And that then incents other people, I want a webcam on my well somewhere
yes,
in the world.
That is a genius idea.
I haven't seen anywhere on your site, I haven't seen anything on your site where you have pictures of an acre or two where you have planted, let's say even 3-year-old trees, because in tropical areas, a tree is going to grow a lot in 3 years, as you know. Do you have any of those that we haven't seen yet that Mark could go to, or on another site or a Facebook page or something?
If you go to the About section, you would see the Gallery section. That is where we have general images of the stuff we do. But I fully agree, like a live webcam would be terrific, especially maybe in, say, the tree nursery where actually stuff happens and the workers walk in and out and they plant the seeds and they water them, and every day they come back. And also, like, the first months, most things happen, whether it's like a 3-year-old tree or 4-year-old tree, it grows a little bit, but over a live webcam, you wouldn't see a difference unless you look now and then in 1 year's time. But with the seedlings in the tree nursery, yes, you could almost see them growing, like sort of day by day, maybe week by week. So I agree, that is a fantastic idea. That is definitely something we need to implement. I like it. So here you see different images from different tree plantings all across the globe. In no particular order. Some are from Ghana, some are from Thailand. I see one from Kenya, one is Tanzania. So yeah, basically from wherever we planted, we put the best images together here in this gallery, so people can get a first impression of what it looks like. And I agree, it would be fantastic to maybe make it a little bit more of a live story, as you say, like maybe have a webcam thing. Also, actually, just last week, I discussed with my mentor that we should have a live session with the workers, maybe once every quarter or something. And then all our fans can talk to the actual workers, and ask them questions and say, how is the work? How hard is it actually? What do you do with your salary? How many kids do you have? All these kind of things, because that is so interesting. I mean, in November, I've been to Ghana to the planting project, and looking into these people's eyes, and then realizing their gratitude and their happiness that now they have a stable job and a stable income. It is unbelievable. It is so heartwarming and so touching that afterwards you wouldn't want to do anything else anymore. And that is why I agree. It would be great to bring that a little bit closer to the people who order the trees on our website, so to say, and that way make it a little bit more tangible, maybe, because it is a fantastic experience and modern technology makes it possible. So we should definitely use it even more. Yeah, I agree.
are there any other entities out there that are doing things similar to you that, I hate to use the word, but that are basically your competitors, because really no one's your competitor if they're planting trees, because it's all benefiting the planting of trees. For example, here in Colorado, I don't know how many acres you have to apply for this, but I know that it's if you have 40, which is a quarter section, less than that, it's a 16th section. If you have 40, you can get free trees from Colorado State University, pine trees.
Nice.
And I don't remember how many you get, but it's in the range of 100. I mean, it's not trivial. It's enough to where it's worth your while and to go drive and pick them up. They don't deliver them to you, obviously. And I could point to trees. I've got some literally right out my window that are now 10 years old. They were planted from 2010 from those trees that I got free from Colorado State University. So Colorado State could be considered a competitor, but I wouldn't. I would say, because it looks like you're operating as at least an entity that you want to be able to have enough revenue to pay these workers, which are the amazing stories you have, and you're going to need to get paid at some point, or you're going to have to go back to work doing something else to support this passion, right? So, and again, I think maybe one of the big things that the Institute of Economics and EAT can do over time to help you is maybe help you think of these ways in which you could monetize a little bit more, and help you help you be able to sustain over a long period of time.
No, that's fantastic. Of course, we're always looking for further options and ideas how to monetize the whole idea, because of course we can't sell trees, for $200 on our website or something. I don't think many people would buy that. But there always are ways, same as with, say, the Expedia example, or the Best Western Corporation, for example, where clients don't have to pay anything extra because big corporations have calculated their marketing budget accordingly already. And that is something we want to leverage. Since you mentioned the competitors, that's also something I ask myself a lot of times, because every business manager or potential investor you talk with, they're like, so have you made a competitor analysis? And I agree with what you're saying, because in the end, we all want to plant trees, and there's so much space that needs to be reforested. And we're not competitors in the sense of, say, McDonald's and Burger King, because the person can only eat one burger a day, and whether you eat it here or there makes a difference to these companies. It might be a little bit the same with planting trees, because whether you plant a tree with us or with someone else, then you might not plant a tree with us. In the end, the tree gets planted, which is the end idea of it. And I think in that respect, we're quite different to many others. I mean, there are NGOs, for example, that plant trees, say WWF or something has tree planting projects. We take this thing a little bit more commercial, as I said, we focus on a lot of also the B2B, and we make sure that it's profitable for our partners, because I can stand there with a big banner and say, woohoo, Wayne is the best. WWF can't do that. They're an NGO, they need to stay neutral to a certain extent. And that is why we can create personalized marketing material for them. And the same with the follow-ups that we do with our partners. I planted trees with like a dozen companies just to check the competitors, sort of thing. And whenever you plant a tree with them, most of the time you would get, say, a PDF certificate saying, hey, Chris, thank you for planting 10 trees with us. You're awesome. And that's the last you ever hear of them. And I'm like, so where's my tree? And how do I know it exists? And how do I know it grows? And how do I know it's friends, and that's things I want to know. So that's why we developed things a little bit different and made it a little bit more personal in the terms of that. If you want to check it out, you go to the free trees section, Everyone who signs up for our newsletter gets a free tree planted, so we can basically prove what we do. Just click on the free trees mark, yeah, and there's the newsletter subscription form. You sign up for that, and then you get the emails from us about how your tree does, how, like, when it gets planted in the tree nursery, how it grows, who's taking care of it, the story of the person who's nursing it, and the team, of course, the area where it's growing, why we've selected that area in particular, the moment when it goes from the tree nursery out to the field, which is basically the transition from kindergarten to school, which is quite exciting. And then you get long-term updates, once a year, the latest. Look, this is how your trees are doing. This is how the entire area is doing. This is how the project is going forward. And that is what people want. You want to have sort of a proof that your trees are there and growing. And that is what we deliver. And apparently people really enjoyed it. And we got lots of feedback to the emails we sent. Hey, thank you so much for telling me about Mary or for telling me about John. And we even encourage them, to send a personal message to Mary and John and say, hey, look, we're happy to forward everything you sent to us. And we forward all these encouraging messages to all across the globe, to our tree planting team in Ghana, for example. And people there are super stoked, suddenly they get messages from all across the globe saying, Mary, you're a fantastic person. Thank you so much for taking care of my tree. And oh, John, I saw you in this wonderful photo where you basically cradled my tree in your arm when you took it out to the field and stuff like that. And it is wonderful to see what you can create when you have sort of when you make it a community, where people who plant the trees, maybe they're based in Colorado, but suddenly they have this almost direct connection to the people in Ghana and to their tree, and it's wonderful. And that, of course, encourages you to plant more trees, because you don't want your tree to be alone. And you want your tree to have friends, and have a family, and in the end have a huge family. And that is cool to see how with that you can also create these ripple effects, and out of one tree then you have 2 and 5 and 10, and you plant a tree for your mother, your dad, your brother, your sister, your kids, your grandparents, whoever else. It is beautiful, yeah. So that's why I wouldn't say.
Do you have any individuals that you could just right now say, this person, through bookings, through buying trees individually, has planted 1,000 trees or some number? You keep track a little bit that way, or can you?
Unfortunately, not yet. That's something we want to implement, sort of a scoreboard or a leaderboard, where you also have your personal back end, and you can track your own trees and you can plant them in different countries, because then, you get your own world map, so to say, and then the countries where you plant the trees already, they pop up in colorful colors or something, and you see, I planted a tree in India and one on the Philippines. Next, I should plant a tree in Kenya, for example, and that would add another continent to my map. So that is something we're working on. Mark just hovered over the login section. That's where it will be, but it will probably still take another few months, I guess, until that is completely ready to roll out.
What's your biggest limitation right now for expanding and growing this to make it be the dream you'd like it to be for yourself in 10 years?
Very good question. And it is, as with most companies, I guess, it is the income sort of thing. We have, over the last 2.5, 3 years, we have established loads of really, really good partnerships with tree planting teams and families across the globe. And I haven't counted them all in my head, but I can guarantee before the end of the year, we could easily plant another 1 billion of trees if we had the funds to do it. So it is really the visibility, like the knowledge of people that this is actually possible, that it is happening, that it is urgent as well, and it is vital to our planet. I mean, you probably didn't enjoy having this smoke covering the sun, right? And I think the more trees we plant, I mean, trees also are a natural air filter, so they help you, make the sky blue again. They produce the oxygen you actually breathe. And the sooner people realize that this is vital, it's urgent to fight this climate change that is looming, the better. So even if whoever's listening is not in the mood or in the position to plant a tree right now, it already helps if you share the website on social media or something, or you sign up to the newsletter and we can plant a tree for you that way. Go to the free tree section, and find whatever is suitable for you, share with your friends. There's lots of things you can do. As I told Mark in the beginning, we've now created a special discount code. I'm only mentioning it now for all the people who are still listening in. You deserve it.
Oh,
If
no,
you,
that's right.
you think you think about planting a tree on our website and you use the code Wayne10. So Wayne with a capital W and then the 10 as a number, Wayne10, you get 10% of your entire purchase. It's valid until the end of this month only. So you need to buy it or plant the trees within the next few days.
Yeah.
You can tell, of course, your parents and friends to also make use of it if they want, but preferably first you share Wayne's webinar with them, of course.
So this offer only lasts 4 days, right? So today is the 26th. So they have 4 days. Or this month is 31 days, or 4 or 5 days, right?
Yes, correct. I limited it to August 31.
Okay, okay.
If there's a lot of demand, and you say, look, we're going to do a rerun, or you put it on your website only in
Yes.
3 weeks or something, we can see if we want to extend the discount. It's not a problem.
Uh,
Open for discussion. But for now, I think it's cool to have this sense of urgency, and everybody who's
uh
listening in now can now plant a tree and get a 10% off.
Cool. Yeah, we'll have the replay up tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, we're at the top of the
Yeah.
hour. I want to be respectful of your time as well as our audience. Just some final thoughts. Let me give a couple of mine and then turn it over to you, and that's where we're in. So, Mark, as soon as Chris has given his final thoughts, you can go ahead and end the webinar.
Okay.
Here's mine. I can think of, my brain's just spinning for things that I can think of that we can help you with, Chris. So I will make sure we get back to you and we figure out what some of those things can be. Yonder in particular, I think there could be a really interesting partnership there. I can actually think of some ways you could help us through your 12 years of experience in the hospitality industry and things that you might be able to help Yonder with, for example, and maybe there's some income in there for you for that. And then, we'll just talk about that. But this has been amazing. I wish we can get thousands of our people to watch replays of this, and we'll make sure we put it up. Do you have code at all to where we can do sidebars that would be advertising Click a Tree? If not, we actually can create it ourselves. But if you have some, we could get those from you. But anyway, that's my final. Chris, I'll turn it over to you. Again, thank you so much. Thank you, Mark, as always, for helping. Mark has been the behind-the-scenes host of thousands of our sessions, and he's only missed 2 or 3, I think, in 4 years. So he does an amazing job. So, Chris, why don't you finish up for us?
Thank you, Wayne. Indeed, I agree. I'm sure there's lots of potential for corporations, maybe Yonder or with integrations on the website. We can, of course, send you images, for example. We can discuss later what sort of code you had in mind. And that is also the same for everyone listening. I mean, we're open to all sorts of corporations. I mean, we work now in, I don't know, feels like 15 different industries or something. We even have like wine retailers who plant trees when you buy wine from them and stuff. There's no real limitation to planting trees. You can integrate it into every aspect of your life. So there's 3 things I'd like to encourage you to do. First is, of course, share the webinar, share with your friends, share the Click a Tree website if you like. Sign up for the newsletter if you want, and then go plant the tree. Actually do it. Don't just think about it. There's this discount code valid until the end of the month. Wayne10, you get 10% off all your purchases. So make sure you make use of that. And then thirdly, since Mark is already on the contact page, send us a message. If you have ideas about, products that you think could work well with planting trees, if you work for a company or you know a company, same as Wayne knows Yonder, for example, and you think, oh, they could be a great fit, feel free to get in touch. Even if you're unsure if it could be a match, just get in touch and we talk things through and see if there's a fit for everyone. Unfortunately, we had translation problems. I see the contact form is in German for some reason, but I guess you can figure out where to jot your email and where to put the message. So don't hesitate to please get in touch. We read all of your emails. We answer to all of them, and then we'll see what comes out of it. But ideally, there's a very, very lot of good in store for our planet, for the inhabitants, for the animals, for the humans who plant the trees, and ultimately for us, of course, because we dearly need the oxygen. So don't hesitate, just do it. Thank you very much for listening in. Thank you, Wayne, for hosting it. It was fantastic speaking with you, and I'm looking forward to cooperating further on whatever projects we agree on. Thank you also, Mark, for making all the technical aspects possible. It's fantastic that everything here works so flawlessly, and I can just talk and say, can you click here and please scroll down? It's great. It's like magic. So thank you very much for enabling that. And of course, all listeners and viewers for zapping in, for listening, and as I said, maybe for sharing and for planting trees in the future too. Thank you very much. Greetings from Germany. Talk to you soon.